It's tough when your work calendar has lots of empty spots and you start worrying about how to keep your team busy. What if it stays quiet? How long can I carry on like this? What am I going to do to get those calendars full? Now, don't miss this episode where we dig into a bunch of no-cost ways to generate jobs quickly and consistently without having to spend money on marketing or ad agencies.
We're talking about how it's really, really stressful when the calendar gets empty.
How am I going to keep people busy today? That's a real gut punch.
Basically, how do you get more jobs without having to do that whole lot of marketing?
Is it better to get good at doing something with those 50, which you've already paid for, rather than trying to go get another 100 that you've got to pay more for?
And just as a side note, if you're converting 100% of your leads, your price is too low.
If you do that, you will increase the response rate straight away.
I've got a drain that really stinks. Do you think you could help me out? Well, not this week.
Alrighty, welcome to the Profitable Tradie Podcast. Tony Fraser-Jones here, your host with my co-host Phil Smith. How you doing, brother?
Always good, mate. Always good.
Juicy episode today. What are we getting into?
Well, we're talking about how it's really, really stressful when the calendar gets empty. Basically, you're up late at night, you're looking at it, you're hoping it's going to fill up, you're hoping for the phone to ring, you're on the edge of your seat, and you're wondering if this is just a blip or if it's something a little bit more permanent. And you start trying lots of random stuff. You know, maybe it's going to work, maybe it's not. You don't know. You're just kind of throwing stuff at the wall and hoping it sticks. And you can also get into that state where you're just too busy to try anything new. And so you know you need to try something, but you just don't because you're flat out with everything else going on.
You often spend time trying to organise stuff for the guys' team to do. Maybe, we'll get them to clean the yard or wash the vehicles or the trucks or whatever. So you kind of get busy just trying to help people stay busy without actually getting the work to make them busy.
Well, yeah, you're busy being busy, right?
Busy being busy. And this is a big issue. You know, look, the economy has sort of shifted a little bit. Construction is not as strong as it was. Less jobs are around. And so this is really quite a thing for people at the moment, where the calendar empties out, all that stress comes on. And the thing is, what we often do is we look for, new blood. We need to get some new clients. We look hard, for that, sort of marketing stuff. But we forget about the gold that's actually already in your business. And that's a big part of what today is, You will need new leads from time to time, obviously. But if you're already getting leads, there are a lot of ways you can turn those into jobs more quickly than just looking for new people.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure you got a story to kick us off.
I do have a story. It's the story of the golden goose, which is a pretty good story, a little fable there.
Yeah.
And in this fable, the farmer and his wife had a goose that laid golden eggs, laid a golden egg every day. And this obviously provided a lot of wealth, a lot of income. But the farmer and his wife, they got a bit greedy. And so they'd thought, well, if they could get all the golden eggs at once, if they cut the old golden goose in half, they could get all the golden eggs. So they killed the the golden goose, but obviously to their dismay, they discovered there were no eggs inside there. So they'd pretty much cooked the goose, as it were. And the moral of the story is, impatience, greed, hustle, craziness can actually destroy, valuable resources that you have. And in terms of business, and what we're focusing on today, the golden goose really is the leads and the clients you already have in your business. And if we really nurture those, that's the big idea. We really nurture those and do the most we can for those people, then we're going to get a whole lot more golden eggs rather than just chasing, shiny objects, whims, ad agencies that ring up and try and sell us stuff and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, if we don't actually have enough jobs coming through the calendar, we run into some pretty big problems. It can be pretty stressful.
Yeah, well, empty calendars. I mean, how am I going to keep people busy today? That's a real gut punch. You've worked hard to get your team, and if they're idle and just sitting around, you don't want them to do that because it's costing you money. And then you kind of worry about, well, am I going to have to maybe lay some of these guys off, free up their future? And so then you've got the stress of the hustle. You're running around, so there's a whole lot more work and effort that's got to go into things. And here's what happens often, if you're a bit short of work and you're looking for new work, often there's a tendency to just drop the price, try and buy some work, keep the team busy. And that's tricky because, that can be a race to the bottom. There might be other people out there who are a bit short of work as well, and they start dropping the price. And so it's kind of that whole ratcheting down effect to you hit bargain basement. And then, not enough leads and low price, that's a double whammy, right? Because that affects your profitability, both in terms of not enough work, but also the work you're doing then is suddenly less profitable. And obviously your low profit flows through to cash flow, which is a whole other world of pain. When you're struggling to pay bills, that's super stressful. That really does keep you awake at night. And I think that's the connection you make. As soon as you've got an empty calendar, you're thinking, flipping heck, how am I going to pay the bills? That's kind of what happens if we're really honest about things. And I think the other thing, on the flip side of that too, is like if you don't have the ability to get work and you see empty calendars, even if it's from time to time, it really knocks your confidence around to grow your business. If we've talked about this a lot, you need good team members to grow your business and to help you, get your life back and have a lifestyle. But if you're not confident to do that because you're concerned about is there enough work in the calendar and the schedule, then you may not do that. And then what happens? You can act out of desperation. Some person telemarkets you and they're like, "Hey, I've got this, this scheme to get you new jobs." And you're like, "Oh yeah, I'll try anything." You throw, good money after bad money, and I think we've all been in that situation. So it can be very frustrating, and there's a lot of, I guess, emotional and mental torture that comes with this, and so we definitely want to try and get on top of it.
Yeah, absolutely. But on the other hand, if we can get enough jobs and we can get things moving again, things flip all the way back the other way.
They do, yeah. And so we get the full calendar. We're confident that we can keep the team busy, and that really makes us feel positive about where we're at, puts us in a good frame of mind. It helps us to stay strong on price. If you've got enough work, you can see that there's enough jobs and you've got the ability to get jobs. It means you don't start bidding yourself down in your pricing. You stay firm to the pricing and the margins that you need, and then that protects your profitability, and that flows through to your cash flow, and it means that you're confident then to look to grow your business as well, to maybe take on someone to free up your time so you can work on the business, have a bit more vacations or time with your family and friends. And the big thing today is we're going to look at how you actually can nurture your existing clients and your leads to do that, rather than spending a lot of time and money on just chasing new stuff all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. So how do we get into this? Because I think everyone will be on the edge of their seat saying, well, what do I do?
Yeah. Well, I think as we've talked about, the first thing is that, when you don't have enough jobs and the calendar's empty, we typically think about marketing, marketing is looking to get new leads, either emailing us or phoning us, or new projects to price, ones that we haven't worked with before, typically. And often that costs money, because you've got to actually go and find new people. It can be really expensive. It can take some time as well. There's lag time between when you get the marketing actually happening. If you think about pricing projects, obviously it's going to take some time for projects to come in. If you're quiet now, a project that you put a bid on or a quote on now, it may not fruit for a few weeks or months or several months. I mean, some big projects might take years. And so there's a lot of lag time. So that obviously doesn't help you right now pay the bills, and that's really stressful. Because we're desperate, we often waste money on ad agencies and all this sort of stuff that come with really big promises, but often it doesn't fruit into any jobs. And I'm sure if you're listening, you've been in that situation. And I'm not saying all ad agencies aren't good, but there are a lot that are rubbish.
Yeah, well, there's definitely good ones out there. I think probably the big thing is that there's also a lot that, they actually might be good marketers. But do they know enough about your industry? Can they really help you? Because they might do some really good marketing that would have worked really, really well for a hair salon, or really, really well for a shoe shop. But the fact is that if you're a plumber or an electrician, those same strategies, they're not always universal. And so sometimes these marketing agencies, they're promising big things because they've had big results before, but have they had them for someone like you? And I think that's where sometimes we can run into some trouble, right? Because they're just knee-jerking at it.
Yeah, and if we're really honest about our lot as tradespeople and owners of contracting businesses and tradie businesses, do we actually have a really good knowledge around marketing? Often we don't, and probably, if we're honest, we probably need to be better about that, and that's something you can learn. But it's pretty hard to learn it right then and there when when you're under the pump and you need to get things in the calendar. It's like another whole thing that you've got to get your head around as well. So that's a big thing. Yeah. But there is a better way that's quicker and I think is more effective in the short term and in the medium term as well.
Yeah, well, it's really basically how do you get more jobs without having to do that whole lot of marketing. And this really comes back to the golden goose, right? Is you nurture it. Don't kill it, nurture it. Yep. Like we said, there's gold in those hills. So, look, not getting you wrong, you will need new blood at some stage. Like you do need new leads coming in, obviously. Sure. But I think the big thing is, a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush, and you do have birds in the hand. So make sure you nurture those and get all the gold you can out of those constantly because they do continue to fruit. So I think there's really two big things you need here to focus on. And the first one is, how do you deal with those new leads? Obviously assuming you do have some new leads. Everybody will have a conversion rate of some kind, right? Like you might be converting 50% of new leads that come in. So someone calls up, there's a 50% chance that becomes a job. Now, what that means is that there's also 50% of the leads that are coming in which you are not converting, and that's an opportunity. So, what you're doing with those leads when they come in, I'm guessing most people aren't converting 100%. And just as a side note, if you're converting 100% of your leads, your price is too low. Okay, so story for another day.
Give yourself a pay rise.
Yeah, give yourself a pay rise. You shouldn't be converting 100%, but the fact is that there's always opportunity in the leads you're not converting. And so if we're looking at how we deal with the leads coming in, that is opportunity number one. Opportunity number two is all the opportunity that exists with those existing clients. It's those birds that are in the hand. How do you maximize those? How do you get the most value out of a client, not just now, but in an ongoing way? And so I think we should probably dig into those two factors because that's really where the gold is.
Yeah, I want to put some numbers on that, Phil. Like 50% is awesome, but let's say you have 100 leads in a month, 100 leads, and you turn 50 of them into jobs. Well, that's 50 inquiries you've missed out on. Now, is it better to get good at doing something with those 50, which you've already paid for, rather than trying to go get another 100 that you've got to pay more for?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then that's the first point. Then, as you said, the second point is you've got 50 jobs already. What if we could just sell an extra $100 each on those jobs?
Yeah,
that's gold for no extra, marketing spend or anything like that. The funny thing is, a lot of those 50 jobs you're already doing, there'll be work that they want you to do if you just know how to go about asking for it and figuring it out.
Yeah.
It's not like a hard sell necessarily at all. So it's pretty exciting.
Well, not just that, Tony, but if you look at those same numbers, let's say you got those 50 leads that you never closed, that's 50 leads, say, this month. Well, then there's also the 50 leads you never closed last month, assuming that you're on the same trend, and the month before, and the month before, and the month before. And so the thing is, we can go out and we can hunt hundreds of new leads, but the fact is that there's been hundreds of leads we haven't closed in the past, and that there's still opportunity there. Not to mention, let's say again, if we take these round numbers, 100 leads, you're closing 50 of them. Then the thing is there's gold with the 50 leads that you close this month where you could maximize. But the fact is if you've got ongoing care with your clients, which is something we'll dig into, and you're continuing to get value from those clients moving forward, then it's not just the 50 you closed this month, it's the 50 you closed last month and the month before and the month before. So you've got hundreds of existing clients, potentially that you could actually get future gold from as well. So, we can go in search of new pastures, but we got pastures right here.
We do. That's the golden goose. And, if you're thinking about this and you're like, oh, well, I close most of my leads or whatever, but you're not scientifically measuring this stuff, that is actually one of the key starting points, because I'm almost going to guarantee you there'll be a whole bunch of opportunities you don't actually realize that you're missing out on. And so getting the numbers on, how often does the phone ring? How often does the email pop up? How often do we get a price in from someone? Actually start measuring that and then figuring out how many of those actually turn into jobs. That's a great place to start. And you'll probably be like, flipping heck. There's that is definitely a golden goose.
Absolutely. So let's start with how we're dealing with those leads and inquiries that are coming in.
I think the first thing is a mindset. It's to actually treat every inquiry, every job request like the gold that they are. And so here's the thing, is if you're really busy with projects and team and all sorts of stuff, and it sometimes feels like you're not in the right headspace, or it's a bit urgent to answer the phone or whatever, if you don't take the time and treat them, like the gold that they are, and really listen and give them your full attention, then that's a miss, because that will come across, and it will come across in how you deal with it. So, for instance, do you have a set way of dealing with inquiries when they come in? Like, is there a process that's followed? And what we're really talking about here, is there a script where all the key questions are asked? Do you position yourself really professionally to start with? Does the phone get answered within 3 to 5 rings? Ideally 3 is a good number. And is it cheerful? If you're answering the phone, if you're in a ceiling space and it's like, hang on, the phone drops.
Yeah, you're up a ladder, you're under a house, whatever.
That I get it. Sometimes that's necessary, but you think about the image that portrays to the person who's calling. Do you have someone who, if you've got an office person or a customer service rep, a receptionist who can take the calls, who's bright and cheerful and can do them immediately, like if you do that, you will increase the response rate straight away.
Well, if I could jump in on that, I think the other thing is, we deal with a lot of people who have put inquiry scripts in place and we ask them, hey, how's the phone being answered? Yeah, it's great. We're using the inquiry script. It's all cool. And I say, you sure it's being done well? I remember one client, I'm not going to name him, but he said he had a problem with leads. And so we looked into it, and it actually turned out he actually had quite a lot of leads. He just wasn't closing them. And so I asked him, well, how the inquiry's going? Yeah, they're good. Yeah, office girls are using the inquiry script. And I said, can we listen to some of the recordings? And he said, oh, yeah, actually my phone system does record the call, so let's get it going. And so we listened to some of the recordings, and Tony, it was like this. Hi, it's Craig here. I've got a drain that really stinks. Like, do you think you could help me out? And the person on the phone goes, oh, well, not this week. And he's like, oh, okay. Well, do you think maybe it could be in the upcoming weeks? And she's like, oh, I'll have to get back to you. And basically just hung up. And so he had the inquiry script. He thought it was going well, but, proof was in the pudding. We had a look at it. It's not being used. And so the thing is those leads were just getting burned. And so I think, having the process is one thing, but making sure it's being used properly is really the second piece of that puzzle.
Yeah, and this comes back to the attitude of treating the leads that you've paid for, you've worked hard to get, treating them like the gold that they are. And so being professional, having a script, ideally having someone else answer the phone who's able to do it in a prompt way and book the jobs then and there. Like, speed is everything here. You're thinking about someone who maybe they have a maintenance issue or they need some service work relatively quickly. If you don't book them in when they call, what are they going to do?
Well, they just call someone else.
They call someone else and they book them in. And calling them back is often a waste of time. Yeah, because the job's already done by the time you get around to it.
That's it. No, there's more to this as well. I mean, the speed for a maintenance job is really, really important, especially if it's something that's an emergency or it's happening right now. But I mean, look, we had a client. I'm going to call him Rick again. I don't want to name the guy, but he does bathroom remodeling, so renovations and stuff. Replacing people's bathrooms, upgrading them. And he calls me, and so we're here sort of getting to the middle of the year, and he calls me and says, man, Phil, the bathroom side of the business has just not been doing very well. We haven't had a new bathroom all year. So it's been 6 months. And I'm like, well, hey, how's it going? We looked through a sales process, and I end up asking him, I was like, how long does it take you to actually get a quote to a client? And he said, a couple of weeks. And I said to him, I was like, hey, man, for something like that, like somebody, when they're excited, when they make the inquiry, like that's the kind of decision that can be changed very easily. And actually, if you think about something like a bathroom remodel, you're not competing with other bathroom remodeling companies. You're competing with whether they go to Fiji for a holiday. It's the expendable cash. So you've got to strike while the iron's hot and when they've decided to do that and not something else. I said, can you get a price to them within 24 hours? He said, it'd be hard. I'm like, I don't care. Can you do it? So he did it. And I said, and furthermore, when you send the price through, when do you follow up? He's like, a few days later. I'm like, nah, scratch that. You're going to call them when you send it. And you're going to say to them, hey, just checking you received the quote, and then ask if they have any questions and, deal with it then. So literally, the girl in charge of sales, awesome chick, she's actually a pretty good salesperson, but she hadn't closed one all year. 2 weeks later after that call, Rick gives me a call, and he says, hey, we sold 6 bathrooms. And so literally the difference was just get the price there quicker and talk to them about it quicker. That was it. Shorten the time frame, bang, done. Didn't even improve the process.
This is unbelievably important. Speed to answer the phone, speed to book the job in, speed to price the job, and ideally speed to do the job are a massive part of increasing your conversion.
That's huge.
Every time. Even if it's not an urgent job, get the job booked in straight away because then it's locked and loaded.
It might not be an emergency, but there is urgency around whether or not they actually want to do this. Because if it's not an emergency, even if it's something that's a nice to have, the thing is it's very easy to change your mind. So if you wait, they might change their mind or they might go with someone else, but you negate all that with speed.
Yeah, if you're listening, you're probably thinking, well, geez, I'm too busy and I've got, jobs I'm trying to do and team I'm trying to organise and stuff. So, well, here's the thing. You need a default calendar. And so, we've started talking about marketing leads, but this is actually, it's about systems and process is what drives this. So you need a default calendar that has a slot in it or a couple of slots every week for site visits so that your receptionist or customer service rep can actually book people in straight away, so they know where they can do that. And also there needs to be time in your calendar, or ideally you've got an estimator or a QS or someone who can do pricing for you, so that you can get the pricing done really quickly.
Yeah.
So if you get it done quick, the aim, like I said, is to get the inquiry, price the job, get the job done before anyone else actually goes out and looks at the job. And if you can do that, you will massively increase the 50%. Like you will add 20% to that conversion rate. You'll start getting 65 people, 62.5, 65 people out of the 100 instead of the 50 through speed.
Well, there's layers to that too, because again, if the thing going through your head is, how am I going to get the time to be that fast? Like for example, Rick with his bathrooms, he says to me, geez, getting these prices within 24 hours, that's just going to be too much. I'm not going to be able to do it. But actually, he's increased his conversion rate on bathrooms so much. He's doing all these extra bathrooms now. He's making all this extra money, and now he can afford to hire an extra person to do the pricing to get it done faster. But the thing is he couldn't have done that if he didn't have the speed. So you need the speed to be able to afford the person to help with the speed. It's actually a thing which either spirals up for you, or if you don't do it, it spirals down, because the alternative is he doesn't do that. He sells no bathrooms, and then it doesn't matter whether you can afford the pricing person or not. You can't afford anything.
And what you hit on there is once you've done the price, you sent the bid or the quote, the follow-up is massive. So the follow-up costs you nothing. It just costs organisation. Again, follow up the day of when you send the price. That's really important. And then follow up periodically after that and have a script to do it.
Yeah, and a little tip on that is just the first one, the day of. People say, "Oh, don't you think that's a bit soon?" And I'm like,
"No, it's not."
And you just frame it as it's not. You're not following up like, "Hey, are you ready to make a decision?" You're just checking they got the price come through, because you know what it's like. You send an email, it arrives in your inbox. You receive an email, it's in your inbox, and within 5 to 10 minutes, it's buried under 100 other emails. So the thing is like, just checking someone got it is actually good customer service, and then asking if they have any questions is also good customer service. Naturally, that's often going to segue into a close. Now, if it doesn't, then that's cool. It's still good customer service, and you can still follow up a couple of days later. The point is, it's not pushy. It's good customer service. So you've got to see it that way.
It's professional. Now, if someone has the ability to follow you up and ask some good, helpful questions, help you make a decision, you're way more likely to say yes to them, because it is professional.
That's it.
It's killer this. So, love the leads you've got. That's the big message. They're gold. If you nurture them, you're quick, you follow up, you're professional, this will make a huge impact on the amount of jobs you get.
Well, I remember being told one time by a very great marketer, and he said, "Hey, mate, what if you only ever had this 100 leads and that was it for the rest of your life? How would you treat them then?" And, it's something I try to remember quite often, because I think the thing is, it's very easy to think, well, didn't do my best with that, or hey, I could have been faster, I could have been more professional, I could have done a better job, but I'll get the next one. What if there was no next one? How would you act then? What effort would you put in? How professional would you be? How sharp would you be? And I think that's the key, is if you view every lead like it might be your last lead, you tend to convert more leads because you do a better job with them. You just care more, and that's really what it's down to.
Massive. So that's how you deal with the leads, but once you've got the customer, what do you actually do? How do you actually nurture the most value and the most service out of that customer?
Well, I think the first thing to understand is that it's 4 to 5 times easier to sell to an existing customer than to acquire a new one. If you think about, people do business with people they know, like, and trust. So you've got existing clients and customers that already know, like, and trust you. So half the battle's done. All you need to do is just have an opportunity for, some work. Whereas if you go after new people, the hard thing is that they don't know you, like you, or trust you yet, or they might only sort of be entering that through your marketing. So you got a lot more work to do, and plus you got to find them first before you even be able to get them to know, like, and trust you. So I think the first thing to understand is this is so much easier than getting new clients. So just you have to give it the focus. I think the first place I would start is upselling. So maximizing the sale you've got. Now, first thing is, having a system for this is really, really important. Now, we have done a podcast episode on this previously, where you can get it in detail. But I think the thing is that if you're pre-framing the upsell well, in your inquiry process, for example, if you're doing a service call to somebody's house, you can pre-frame in the inquiry call and just say, hey, when the guys are there on site, they're going to do an 18-point safety checklist, make sure your home's up to code and that your family is going to be safe. It's normally $250 plus GST, but we'll throw it in as part of the service. Client goes, wow, that's amazing, thank you, because they just got something for free. But the thing they got for free is a blatant reason for you guys to walk around with a clipboard and a checklist checking for other stuff to do. So it means that you have a system to make sure, A, it's going to be cool to do it, and B, They have a checklist, so they know what to look for, so they don't miss stuff. They look for all the opportunities. After that, when they come to the client with that checklist, they're like, hey, I've noticed some stuff, because usually there's stuff to notice. And at that point, it's not weird that they bring it up, because that was all pre-framed. And so at that point, you have a really, really good opportunity to maximize the sale. And that's not just for service work either. Like if you think about a new build, we've got clients which will arrange with the builder that they're going to do a walkthrough with the end client, with the homeowner that's going to end up taking it over. Usually somewhere, this one I'm thinking about is with an electrician. He does it just after the pre-wire, so the house is not even built yet. But he's walking through the site with the end client, asking where are you going to put the TV in? How are you going to set the lounge up? And, do you want to have, extra, power points, power outlets? Where are you going to put the internet modem and all that kind of stuff? So he's getting a lot of ideas. Where's the dining table going to be? Cool, well, we should put some extra downlights above that. And he's figuring out all of this stuff and then basically just writing down on a carbon copy pad all of the variations he's going to make. They sign it right then and there. He's already added the builder's margin. The builder makes money for jam, and he gets upsells right then and there from new builds. So the opportunity is always there to maximize the sale in front of you. And I think you've just got to look for it.
We call that a quote preparation form. It's like have the things on the quote that you can ask the questions that are going to give you the upsells. A classic example is landscaping. We've just done a landscaping project, and the people doing it are members of our program, which is great. So, upselling is all good. And it's things like, hey, have you thought about getting an irrigation?
Yeah.
Have you thought about getting lighting in the garden? So those are two classic examples of things that if you don't ask the question, most people won't buy them.
Yeah.
But if you ask the question, some people will buy them.
Yeah.
And some people will buy them because they want them.
Yeah.
And this is the thing with upselling and cross-selling, is that you might feel like it's a little bit pushy to do this. Well, you need to get over that. You're in business. Like, this is not tiddlywinks, right?
Nah.
You're actually here to
can't
make
be
money.
thinking that.
But the point is, it's actually often providing better service. We do have lighting in our new garden. It looks amazing. I love it. Did it cost more? Yes. If they hadn't asked about it, would I have done it? No.
But would you be gutted about it now?
Yeah, well, if I didn't have it now, if they took it away, I'd be like, oh, that sucks.
Yeah, because you want it.
Because you want it. And so that's the same thing. So you have to get in the mindset of providing great service to the customer, because they're actually getting a better result through your thoughtfulness of actually offering them more options.
I think the thing is that's it. You're just offering them options of stuff they might want, and half the time they do want it. So it's not pushy. It's good customer service. And I think you hit the nail on the head there, Tony. Is it's like you're never gutted about the thing you didn't know about until you know about it. And so if it's not offered to me at the time, but I find out later I could have had it, then I'm actually pissed off no one offered it. For example, I look at my house. My house was a new build, and when I go through, I'm pissed off I don't have an instant boiling tap. I'm pissed off my fridge is not plumbed. I'm pissed off that when I built my own deck, because I built it myself, that no one told me I should have really put some gardens around it, because it would have looked a lot nicer, So I had to do that after the fact, and I had to do a whole lot of little, sort of fix-ups to make sure that would actually fit. But again, if somebody had been able to point these things out, it would have been something I would have done at the time, and it wouldn't have been an upsell in my mind. It would have been me getting what I actually wanted, but that I didn't know about initially. So I think, firstly, you've got to look for the opportunities in every sale, because they are there. And if you're doing the safety inspection route, from home maintenance, that kind of thing, just remember, everybody wants their home to be safe, warm, and dry. And so the thing is that when you're looking for these opportunities, if it's a safety thing or a warmth thing or condensation issue, if there's anything that you could find that you can improve, this is the stuff people want, because they want their house to be a nice place to live.
I want to drill into this too. You think about maybe you've got an electrical contractor comes into the home to fix up a problem. Maybe your fuses are blowing, or they're replacing the switchboard or the switch or whatever it is. But you've had a bathroom that's mouldy and damp and doesn't ventilate very well for ages. And you've been thinking about it for a while. They come and do the job, and then they leave. And then 2 days later, you're like, oh, man, I meant to ask them about this bathroom, if we could do anything with it. Well, if they'd actually said, hey, I noticed the bathroom's a bit damp. Do you want a ventilation system? You'd be like, amen, that's exactly what I wanted. So often they want this stuff. They're just not very good at asking for it. They forget because they're busy and life happens to them.
Dude, I found black mold on the ceiling in my bloody bathroom last weekend. And I hadn't seen it. I'm like, how long's that been there? And then so I went around all of the whole house, and I found a few other little patches, and I'm thinking, bloody hell, I would have killed for a ventilation system. So now I'm getting one, but the thing is no one told me about that before. And so, the thing is, if someone had just seen that in my house and said, hey, do you want this? I would have said yes. So you got to look for those opportunities. And I think with service and maintenance, there's just so many opportunities. in people's homes and in their businesses too. Like as you say, you got aircon, but you got ventilation too. So like, again, the first time I actually noticed that black mold was because I was getting a new air conditioning unit put in the house because old one crapped out, got a new one. And the reason I noticed it was because the guy putting it in said to me, he's like, oh, hey, like, does it ever get damp in here? And I said, nah. But if he'd actually looked around, he would have noticed it actually does.
Yeah.
But I went and looked later.
Yeah. With the the upsell is obviously when you've got a job that you're doing, but the servicing work is like, you install stuff, but it needs work down the track. It needs filters changed, it needs cleaning, it needs servicing. So, like you said.
Well, that's the next part of it.
Yeah, aircon, ventilation systems, boilers.
Yeah.
Boilers need servicing. Gas appliances need servicing.
Yep.
And so, again, like for most of you listening, there'll be work people are waiting for you to do if you ask.
Yeah.
And the point is you have to ask, and you have to have a system for asking, because if you don't have a system, it becomes ad hoc and it doesn't get done.
Yeah, that's
the key thing. And like with service work, some field software, job management software will have bring-ups that you can do. They might send emails. Honestly, phone is best for this. You call and book the job. Phone is always the shortest way between two people, the quickest way to get a job. And you can take we call it a warrant of fitness type approach. It's like, hey, we're just checking that this is up to standard. Giving it a warrant of fitness, if you like.
Yeah.
And you always take an assumptive close, which is like, hey, we notice your boiler is due for a service this month. Would you like us to book it in? We've got some slots available in the next couple of weeks, here and here, which works better for you. You take an assumptive close, and it dramatically increases the number of people who actually will do the work.
Yeah.
And here's the kicker. What do you do when you're there doing the servicing work?
Well, you look for other work.
That's right. you use the upsell, so you've got a 2-for-1.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's incredibly powerful.
Even if your upsell is just looking for other appliances or things that may also need service that you could do, like that's also a great upsell and cross-sell. So I think the big thing is if you're struggling for work and you're thinking about trying to get new clients, if you just look back and say, let's say you do boilers, it's like, well, how many boilers have I done in the last wee while? And it's like, how many of those would be due for a service? Just hit those people up. It's easy money. It's right there.
It is.
Same. You do AC, you do ventilation, you do any of that stuff. Like any appliance that you've put into anyone's home or business, it needs servicing. So any of those jobs that you've done for installs, well, hit them up for servicing. They're all right there in your database.
And it's not just for homeowners. This is for all the commercial and the industrial stuff as well. This is massive for business.
Anyone that owns an appliance needs to be servicing it. It's that simple. So, there's money for jam. And I think from there, we really go to after-sales service.
So this is like the ice cream on the top with the cherry on the top of that, is if you have a good process for after-sales service, which means you basically call up and do a customer service call. Number one, you'll wow the customer. Number two, you get the opportunity to ask them if there's anything else they'd like help with. So that's very powerful. You will get work from that. And three, it's fantastic at driving referrals. And you can ask for reviews and that sort of stuff as well, which again boosts your credibility online. So that after sales service call, particularly if you've got a team who can do it, you can leverage that out. It's very, very powerful to actually get more value from those people that you're already doing work with.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think we've had some really, really good tips here, so should we land this plane?
Let's do it. Empty calendars cause all sorts of headaches for business owners. Now, the stress of trying to keep the team busy and the cash flowing is often overwhelming. Now, whilst it's tempting to hit the marketing for new clients really hard, it's more effective to nurture the existing leads and the clients that you already have. Now, when you do this, you'll have plenty of jobs to keep your team busy. Thanks heaps for listening. We'll catch you all again next time.
See you later.
Congratulations on being part of a select group of savvy business owners who are taking their businesses to the next level. And to help you on your journey, don't forget to check out our show notes for a copy of our free book, The Profitable Tradie, and other valuable resources. Thanks for being a part of this special group, and we'll see you in the next episode of the Profitable Tradie podcast.